I've got a number of buy, sell, or hold questions just to give Andrew a little bit of what buy, sell, or hold. So buy, sell, or hold is basically buy means yes, I think this will work, or I agree. Sell is no, I don't. Then of course hold is your neutral, like, you know. Yeah, so you don't have a chance to say you're neutral for some of these questions. So I'm going to start with Otumba. I kind of feel I know what he's...
Which Otumba are you starting with?
The real one. The real one.
Which Otumba? The one to your left?
Ah, God, just this weekend that he's gone to... Anyway,
did you ride a horse?
No, I
he didn't though. Good question. Ask him if he really stayed. Whether he was in the bar
with
somewhere.
Mr. Steve.
With the man of Steve.
You know, he was my classmate in secondary school.
Seriously? Oh, wow.
Interesting. Small. We're going to bring him on Drinks and Mics very soon. That's one of
no, you should. He's a great guy.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
Yeah, the man of Steez, you're here, and we're dragging you
we're bringing you on
to Drinks and Mics very soon. Gonna start with you, even though I kind of feel I know what some of the things you're going to say, but maybe shock me here. So the first one, I know your answer, but let me ask again for the records. Debt default. You said Nigeria is going to default by 2030, all right, or 2031. Even though I don't know why you said 30 or 31. Buy, sell, or hold, and why?
I think we keep on this trajectory. Again, I don't think that the upside to revenues are significant, or we're not growing revenues as fast as debt. I think the risk is extremely high. So I think that.
So you buy?
I'm gonna buy. The probability that, and that's why it's hard to, as much as you want to buy equities, that is the, which is what Andrew said. Andrew did say that. No, because at the end of the day, if I buy a stock, I want it to appreciate, right? But if the currency devalues, I lose. I'm in USD value. I'm losing that money, right?
But you're investing in Naira, aren't you?
Yeah, but
so isn't this a bet for buying equities than buying fixed
the one thing I look at
income
is
securities?
when I look at you're the middle class. You're middle to rich, right?
Lower middle class.
Everything you're wearing is FX related.
Are you sure?
Mostly, right?
Oh, okay.
Everything you use, your car, your lifestyle is mostly FX related. Even the t-shirts are probably imported, right? So at the end of the day, you need to think about, and the truth is that, someone asked me a question the other day, is what would you have done differently in your life? And I said I would save 40% of my income in FX from the day I was a graduate entry. That would have been one thing I would have done, right? Because the truth is, as long as you're in an emerging economy, your currency will devalue. If you go and look at every emerging economy,
average 5-7%.
Unfortunately, I think even the US currency is going to also devalue as well. So the question is, you wanna switch to gold like Arnold? I'll probably do Swiss francs. I'll probably do Swiss francs or something. Yeah. But I do think that I think that the risk of default in Nigeria is high.
Arnold?
So
are you buying this or you're selling?
So the thing is, I understand where Dale's coming from. If we do continue the trajectory that we are going in terms of ramping up debts, right? Ramping up debts, and to get more debts, we have to increase our cost of funding. I have that same worry that we might go into defaults. I don't think defaults is. Having been in Ghana, being in Zambia when Zambia defaulted. Ghana, when Ghana defaulted, you realize that, okay, it's possible and it's feasible. I don't think we're far off.
We never defaulted under Abacha, never defaulted under Babangida, not even under
Buhari. We had debt forgiveness. Remember, we went through a period of debt forgiveness. So this,
we did default under those people, yes. So we didn't have Euro bonds at the time. We only started doing Euro bonds whenever in the 2000s, right? But we were perennial defaulters during
the Paris Club
during the
good history there. That's where they came in.
Yeah.
So I think it's possible. So it's a buyish hold.
Whatever that means.
Yeah. So it's a buy short. I think it's possible, and also the thing is, I struggle to see how we will get out of this borrowing, because we seem to have an issue with reducing capex, right? So it's a buy short. I think it's possible. I can't give a a figure to when. Maybe I need to do the work to see when we have the biggest payments of principal and coupon. I think there's a balloon payment somewhere. But I think 2 years.
But isn't all these tax reforms we're seeing one of the reasons why we're trying to increase revenue through taxes, mitigate some of this risk down the line? I don't know.
Yeah, I still don't think it's enough.
I don't think that tax should be your cardinal.
I mean, you got to pay debt
for growing
and you know we're trying to come for this 21 point something billion. That takes us about 60% of our spending. In terms of debt, so if we get this 21,
we're not taking it in one blow. We're taking it in
but it's still going to add up. It's still going to add up to about 60% of our spending, right? So this in terms of debt servicing. So I think that I think it's possible. I don't think we're far off. I really don't think we're far off.
So I'm a hold. As I said earlier, if we hadn't done the subsidy removal and the devaluation, we were heading into like a default in like a year or two's time from now. So we've put it off. But as the other guys have said, we can still get there. I'm not sure that we definitively have to get there, but we can, and if we're careless, we will. So I'm a hold on it. I mean, it's something I think we need to watch very carefully.
Yeah.
Just on the point of taxes, one of the things with the tax reform is that, which is fine, but we keep on essentially taxing the same people.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about it, right? People say, I don't know what the number is, but 30 to 50% of Nigeria's economy is informal, right?
50 actually.
Yeah, so we're not really taxing half of our economy, so I think that's one thing. So, sort of following a kind of Western taxing method, income tax, corporate tax is fine, increasing the rates, I guess it's okay, but you're essentially just going back and squeezing the same people.
But is there an option? Is there a different kind of?
Yeah, I mean, so you have like Ghana. Ghana, for example, do this Momo tax, this e-levy, where to them because they realize a lot of the business.
Don't we do that too, like electronic levy and all that? Isn't that something they introduced?
Yeah, well, I don't know, but we need to think about those things. So things like VAT. I mean, who pays VAT even? I mean, is everybody paying VAT? I mean, I'm sure. The restaurants that you guys go to, they pay VAT, but the Mama Puts and Co. are not. And if you go to other countries, right, they have been able to extend the tax system into much more of the informal economy. Go to Rwanda, go to, places, even Ghana.
How do you do it?
Well, look, we have all these ID cards and things. So that's where you start. That's how you start, and you really build up this sort of economy, and where everybody is, how much they're earning, and then you start to charge taxes on them, and you with all these things you just have to start. If you're not even starting, that's the point about the capital as well. If you don't even start, you're not going to succeed. So you've got to start, but. If you just kind of try and squeeze more and more out of the same people, you're not really going to increase your revenues very much. And the other thing, obviously, is that, which is a bit of a circular argument, but you've got to grow your economy, because if people are richer, then they'll be able to pay more tax.
Exactly.
So, anyway.
All right, let's go to the next buy, sell, or hold. Coming back to you. We've seen a lot of reforms from the CBN, particularly, but they've held rates now stable since November. Next MPC is, I guess, a month away or so. Inflation is one sticky thing. We've talked about inflation all through today. Do you see inflation coming down to single digits by 2027, buy, sell, or hold? Inflation coming down to single digits 2027.
Single?
Yeah.
Not going to happen.
Not going to happen?
Nah.
Despite the rebasing.
2027?
Yeah.
I mean, I fundamentally have a problem with the rebasing anyways, but but I just don't see it. I think you could come to the teens, but I don't think single digits is achievable.
Wow. I don't.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we probably.
So that's a sell for you.
That's a sell, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So 2027, I think we get into the 19s, 2026. 2020, end of 2025, 2026. I do think rest of this rebase, I think the summer inflation is going to be a weird spike. So the rebase sort of throws me off a little bit. But I do think we go into the teens in the late teens, Q1, Q2, 2026.
Is that because of base effects or?
Because of base effects.
Yeah.
Because of base effects. So I'm trying to work base effects through. So single digits 2027. It's tough, but I think maybe low teens, end of 2020, end of 2026. But 2027 is quite hard for me to call. Yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
So are you selling or holding?
Hold.
You hold.
I hold.
Andrew?
Sell.
Sell.
Without question. First of all,
There's just a lot of headwinds.
First of all, inflation is fundamentally, today at least, is fundamentally a fiscal problem, not a monetary problem. And we've been talking about
so why are we using monetary policy to fight it then?
Well, I mean, I guess if you're the central bank governor, you've got
to do your job.
You know, yeah, you've got to use the tools that you have, right? So, you know, as we continue to have large budget deficits, that I think, as I mentioned, I think is one of the primary drivers of inflation. And, you know, I don't think there's anything, I don't know, I don't follow the numbers as closely as you guys do, but I don't see that spending is coming down.
Yeah.
And I don't see that revenue, you know, we never meet our revenue targets. And even if you look at the budget as proposed, and, you know, I don't think that the 26 and 27 budgets will get better for one reason I'm coming to in a second. If you look at the budget, even as proposed, i.e. if we get the revenues, it's kind of looking scary. As I said, it's kind of a 50% deficit. And we won't get the revenues because we never do. And then we've got an election in 27.
Of course, yes, we do.
So, I mean, you know, spending is not going down.
Yeah.
Are you changing from holding?
No, I'm still. I'm
A strong sell.
You're switching to a strong sell. Interestingly, for me as well, it's a sell. Because I kind of think that we are currently in a period where I think things are really looking up.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. Because, I mean, if you've followed the global economy for years, you know that it's always a cycle. I kind of think we're in a cycle where things seem okay and there's still a lot of headwinds coming down the road. And I feel like we probably might not be prepared enough for that. And so 2027 could be one of those years where we would face significant headwinds. And for that reason, I think inflation will be sticky. Yeah, it would be sticky.
It spikes, so
it would spike. It will be sticky. It probably won't spike, but definitely not single digits. Just no matter how much they want to play with those numbers, it's going to be very difficult to get single digits. You know, for me. All right. Of course, for default, I'm buying. I don't think that we're going to default. I don't think we're going to default. So next is Andrew did talk about, you know, equities in 2014 and now, and it's almost like, you know what, if you had exited 10 years ago, you're probably better off. Okay. That's hindsight. So we're looking at future now, and some would say, look, betting on equities now that we have a semblance of a free market, or floating exchange rate or something close to that, equities will outperform dollar investment 10 years from now. Buy, sell, or hold. You can sell all through so far.
So I think 10 years is a bit far.
That's Naira equities, that is.
Yeah, I mean, 10 years is a bit far because there's going to be a change in who the president will be. So I guess I can't think that far. But I think Naira.
Assuming everything remains the same.
I think Naira will outperform US. And I think
Naira will outperform US.
Naira returns.
Naira returns. Okay.
Will outperform the US returns. And I think if you look at, I did one article many years ago, not a few years ago, where there was this 10-year challenge that the judges were doing, where, what did you look like 10 years ago and what do you look like now? So I did something similar for the stock market, where I did where the stock price was 10 years ago and where it is now, and I adjusted for inflation and FX movements. And the only 3 stocks that outperformed inflation and FX was Okomo Presco and Nestle. The next sort of 2 stocks were Stanbic and GT Bank at the time. So I do think that I think Naira would outperform.
I don't understand the logic, because you said you went back 10 years.
No. This is an old article I wrote.
Yeah, and only 4 stocks.
Yeah, only 4 stocks outperformed.
Yeah. So what makes you think that would change?
So why will?
No, because I think the USD is going to devalue. I think the US currency is going to devalue. So for that reason,
yeah, I mean,
Naira will do better.
Dollar
the producer is shaking his head. Doesn't agree with you.
No, but not, the US currency is going to devalue.
So I mean, there's a couple of points there. I agree. I think dollar. Dollar's about to blow up. There's a US debt crisis coming. That's another show for another conversation. We're already seeing it, right? We're seeing US Treasury. Okay, we're seeing dollar get weaker. I think dollar continues to get weaker. I guess the Naira, I still think Naira gets weaker against dollar, right? But I think 10 years is hard, but 24 months to 60 months, 24 months to 5 years, I think choice equities.
10 years, what I said. I know you.
10 years is difficult.
I don't know how to
10 years is very difficult.
10 years. That's why you're on the spot.
Because
10
the
years.
problem we are now is the volatile, is the
then say
craziness that
sell
comes
or
in.
hold.
So I've been
Let's
looking
put me
at
on the spot. But I think that there are equities, there are assets that will outperform the Naira depreciation over the next 24 to 60 months.
I'm talking about an equity portfolio. Even if it's two assets, that's fine.
I've been looking at some data on the stock on the NGX that suggests that international investors are beginning to come back.
I mean, like Andrew said,
maybe
that's
not,
what they say,
not,
and then they are.
We're fully committed.
Maybe not in the manner that we want. But the data does suggest that international flows are beginning to come back into the market. And I think that will support a strong Naira rally or a strong stock market rally.
But recent NGX data also suggests about 80% we had 80% outflows. Some people would say it's because of dividend payment and all that anyway. But I mean, that's...
But also don't forget there's some stocks that are actually, there's some companies on the stock market that found a way to diversify their revenue streams, right? Like the agribusinesses, they'll come with Presco, and they continue to increase their dollar leg. Which you've seen when you look at the share price, you've seen the depreciation of the stock almost regardless of depreciation of the Naira.
Yeah.
So those sort of stocks, those will come as a Presco dollar outperform.
So what are you doing? Buy, sell, or hold?
Buy.
You're buying. So you believe Naira?
Yeah, I think over the next couple of years.
10?
Not 10 years.
10 is hard. 10 is difficult.
It's hard to
So are you guys holding or what?
I'm buying. Sorry, just because of time.
So let me clarify your question. Are you talking about the market? Or are you talking about specific stocks? Because if you're talking about just buying like an index of the market, and will that outperform over 10 years? Or are you talking about, okay, if I chose
Naira
the right
assets
stocks,
generally, so a portfolio of Naira assets.
Over 10 years?
Yeah.
If you had to push me, I'd say sell. I'm with Arnold, 3 years, sure. 10 years, when you go and look at historical track record.
But does this matter now that we have a free floating exchange rate?
Do we have
there's no longer something close to that. There's no longer fuel subsidy. There's a lot of reforms.
So you recall that, and by the way, I'm not saying that this is the case, right? But you recall that when the Naira was devalued under Emefiele from 200 to 350, we were told that it was a market-based rate, right?
Yeah, we were.
And then 1 year later, you look at the graph and it's flat.
It was flat, all true.
Now, as I said, I'm not saying that that's the case here, but there's a lot of pressure for the, because of what I said earlier, that we tend to judge how well the economy is doing based on how stable the exchange rate is, regardless of all the factors that mean that it shouldn't be stable. So there's a lot of pressure to prop it up. And that propping it up leads to cycles. And, we've seen this where every 5 to 7 years, there's a devaluation, right? And, it would obviously be far better, actually, if it were floating and if it were allowed to come down gradually rather than
have that steep one. Yeah.
And I hope that this time is different. And, as I said, there's nothing to, it's very early days. And, that would be the best policy. But history has shown that it's very hard to sustain those kind of free-floating type of policies in this country. And so, again, we talk about inflation, which I think we're not doing the fundamentals of taking away what is causing inflation.
Structural issues.
So with all those things, if you look at it in the long run, sitting here today, there's nothing to tell me that things have really fundamentally changed. Now, they might have, and maybe I'm being over pessimistic, but again, we haven't. What's the expression they use? We've had several rodeos before, and they've kind of all ended in one way. So if you force me to bet, I will have to kind of bet with history. Now, again, it's not to say that things
aren't
changing, and there have been some real reforms. I mean, the fuel subsidy was something that has not been successful before, even though virtually every government comes to the fact that they need to remove that. Now, of course, what you do with the gains from that is you can remove it, but then you've got to sort of make sure you're using the gains
it in the right way,
in a prudent way. So we have to see. But so I'm just going with what has happened historically, and on a 10-year view, we're likely to have a devaluation event based on history, and that is likely to erode returns. On a shorter time frame, that's not likely to happen, and I guess that's why Arnold is trying to say I'll have Naira assets for 3 to 5 years. So
I'm trying to hide myself here, but for me, it's a sell as well.
Yeah.
To Arnold's point as well, for Naira to really for dollar assets to be better than Naira, would have to see the exchange rate devalue to about 2,000 Naira for that to beat a Naira return of about 20-25%. You can run the math yourself. Last buy sell because we're really out of time. I can't believe time has flown like this. It's incredible. Last buy sell and quickly. Something that I really want to get your view on in terms of, we've talked about the economy in general. So this is now sectors. So probably not 10 years, 5 years from now, based on some of the reforms you're seeing, based on some of the things you're seeing happen globally, services as often led as the major sector in Nigeria. But which of the sectors are you buying, selling, or holding? Agric, industries, which of course is manufacturing, and then services. Are you buying all? Is there some you're buying or selling or holding? Quickly.
I will buy banks.
No, services.
Services industries.
Manufacturing.
Okay. I will buy manufacturing.
Really?
I think we need it.
All right, next 5 years.
I think we need it. Essentially because now that we need to, everyone's looking internally as to how, Trump is saying America first, right? We need to start thinking internally how is Nigeria first, made in Nigeria good. So I think manufacturing I would absolutely buy. I would buy the telecom industry.
Services.
I would buy services. Absolutely.
Agri? Don't we need to?
Agri, we need to. I really struggle with that space in terms of just, first of all, the security of the country. Also the flash floods that we, and
then our ability to distribute food.
And then, so in terms of agri, I would rather invest in one of the value chains, which is from the farm to processing, is where I would probably. I don't know if I have what it takes to do the actual farming. And know that I would come out unscarred.
So you're selling or holding?
I would probably be a holder.
That's good. Buy, hold.
You know how I feel about this. So, I've always said if I ever get elected president, I will force a land reform and redistribute land. That's agri.
Yeah,
and that's why we never press and force every bank to lend to manufacturing industries. So that's industries. So for me, agri and industries, they together we talked about this, the biggest GDP contributors, biggest labor as well, so job creation. So it's almost like my dream. I love my dream sectors, if I could, would be agri and manufacturing. I like services now. I've got nothing wrong with services. But manufacturing and agri for me, industries and agri, big ones for me. Big ones for me.
Andrew?
So it depends on how you define it, but I would buy both services and manufacturing and hold on agri. So why I say it depends on how you define it is that frankly, we would struggle to develop serious manufacturing in the next 5 years. I mean, we have the people who are doing it. But
when you say manufacturing, that's the capacity.
Well, I mean, we don't have the skills. We don't have the capital assets. We're not
technological.
We're not really competitive. So, for example, I was just reading. My former employer, AFC, published a report on infrastructure, and they're talking about how we're moving all to off-grid and solar, but that actually costs you twice as much as grid power if we did it properly. And having cheap power is still an important input to manufacturing. So there are many things that will impede being competitive, but it actually is something that we need. Because again, manufacturing is one of those places where you can take relatively unskilled people and have them be productive. And again, improving income is really about improving productivity. And that's why I'm a hold on agriculture, because agriculture in terms of farming, employs people, but it's very low value added. The returns on agriculture are very low. And the countries that have really progressed in agriculture have done so actually by kicking people away and moving to being more, industrialized.
Mechanized.
So, America, it's a big agricultural country. Most of the exports to China are actually agricultural products. But today you have one person where you doing the same amount of production of wheat that maybe you had like 300 or 500 people doing 100 years ago. So you can only really improve in agriculture by actually getting rid of people and mechanizing it and making it more industrial, right? And so that's why I'm not big on agriculture. Actually, and agriculture is used in this country as a way that people, go to. Well, it's changed now, but when I sort of used to go to India, you had like people who were really poor and really starving and everything. We don't have so much of that in Nigeria because people can go and do agriculture and at least find some sort of subsistence. But it's all subsistence. It's not about developing. So agriculture, you need to industrialize it. There are value-add opportunities in the kind of value chains of it. So manufacturing stuff with the agricultural produce. So I don't know if that falls under under manufacturing.
Exactly.
And services. I mean, look, we've got a lot of people. And, we will need a lot of services. I think also, and it's one of the areas I'm working on, one of the things we can do is export our people through, outsourcing and that kind of thing. So I think that's a big potential opportunity for us. I mean, we can't have millions of people japping, but we can have millions of people actually working like they do in India, like they do in the Philippines, selling their services offshore. Yes, AI is going to eat some of that, but it's not going to eat everything overnight. And so I think that's a huge potential opportunity. So I agree with the people who are trying to push that. So I do see services as also a big thing. Okay. So.
All right. So for me, I think mine is pretty simple. I buy agriculture, I buy manufacturing, industrial. I'm kind of holding services, not because I'm in a negative on services. I think that services is one area that we sort of have matured in Nigeria. We probably just need to be a lot more modern and access more foreign markets, like you mentioned. Whether it's servicing, I mean, we're in a very beautiful time zone. Beautiful, like Trump says, in a beautiful time zone. We speak English as well. And so we could actually export a lot of our services outside. And we have a lot of young people as well. So I think services is one area that probably don't even need government intervention there as much as you do in agriculture and manufacturing.